I'm nowhere skilled enough. Nowhere skilled enough for that kind of stuff right now. Well, that was totally unfucking necessary, dipshit! You retarded, boy? I got no boost for that. I didn't even get an assist? What? Oh, I guess not. Totally over that. What's up, Pop? Look at him go. Stuff. Easy plays, easy plays. I gotta even go for it. Open net, open net. Or that's it, that's it. Yo, what up, homies? Hey, I'll be playing Genshin Impact here in a bit. Oh, yeah. I was only gonna hop on a few games in Rocket League, but thank you guys for tuning. Thanks for the fucking likes on YouTube, homies. Hell yeah. Let's fucking go. Yeah, I haven't streamed like the last 4 days. I've been busy and shit with my up north with my daughter and all that good stuff. Well, I haven't even played Rocket League in like a month. So I do not have my GC reward yet. I'm just GC in 2s. Yeah. Like a low 1400. Just save, just save. Ah, I tried it, man. I probably fucked it there, honestly. did not expect that dude to win. Come on, one. Cat, what are you doing? What are you doing, Mr. Kitty? Good. Good. Bro, why are you digging? You can't dig anywhere in the closet, bro. It doesn't work. Oh my god. I just don't get it when my dog digs in there. It doesn't work. You're not digging anywhere. Whoa. I bet some of you are probably a little disappointed I'm not playing Genshin yet. It's like I just want to get a couple games in, you know? Go, 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 go! Hey, seriously, thank you guys for stopping by. Hello, anybody got a mic? What's up? What's up? Testing. Testing. 1, 2, 3, coochie. Hello? Oh, there we go. That's like open net territory right there, bud. in that. I'm in that. You can push. Yeah, push him mid. Man. Good save. Don't worry, I got you, homie. Hey! What's happening, boys? Also, by the way, yo, hit the like button on YouTube, bruh. Or just like, I don't give a fuck. Might be okay. Well, that was well. I mean, that's just luck right there. That's all that was. 100%. Yeah, I mean, an accidental pass, but yeah, just a little luck. No, I'm gonna be hopping on Genshin here in a bit. I'm just chilling. I haven't played RL and I haven't even got my GC rewards yet. Like, I literally just got ranked a couple weeks ago before I went on vacation. Yeah, it's been like, I think like 3 weeks since I played, but I'm only gonna play for a bit and I'm hopping over on Genshin. Gonna be doing some domains and shit. I might get my skirt to like level 80. I don't got it. I don't got it. Not a booster. No boost, Billy. it passed. I didn't have enough boost to whip her around. You know, what are you doing? What are you doing, pup? You know. Again. That's better. What do you want? Alright, up here. Up. Oh, God. Can I help you? What do you need? What do you want? Get. You want this? Here. Get it. Come on. No, you gotta get up here. Come on. Come on. Up here. Oh, God. Let me give you a hug. No. Look at the tree dude. The invisible tree dude. You're hopeless, bruh. Oh, guys. Okay, so I do need to turn back on. I'm going to turn off all the audio. We're going to turn off the audio because I do need to turn this video back on, which I could probably probably overlap it. I think I would prefer to overlap it.
Jeffrey Epstein, and they've gone sort of metastatic. And their attitude is, no more wars for Israel. America first. What I was getting to with the Shlomiah Shlomazel and Nebuch is that most Americans don't have any idea who Kermit Roosevelt was. Do you have any idea of who Kermit? So the U.S. and the U.K. jointly overthrew a democratically elector in Iran through something called Operation Ajax. We installed the Shah, and then there's this period where everybody stupidly celebrates the mini skirts and the jazz that was going through Tehran, which was a bridge too far. In other words, the mini skirts were a really bad idea because they were ready for some amount of modernization, and they weren't ready for that, and so we pushed it too far. And so we got the mullahs for 40 years, and now we chop off people's fingers and we pluck out people's eyes and we put homosexuals on ropes and dangle them from cranes. They're barbaric, they're horrible humans.
That's barbaric?
Okay, these are really bad men,
Okay.
the mullahs. And we did that. So the scalding hot soup is revolutionary, theocratic Iran. And we spilled it all over the Middle East, which is the Shlomazel. We spilled it on Saudi Arabia, we spilled it on Iraq, we spilled it on Israel, Everybody suffers from having these people installed because of the US and the UK instituting a problem back in the 50s. And who's the Nebuch? Who cleans this up? Israel volunteers for this job. And then Saudi Arabia pretends, oh my God, this is terrible. Our Muslim brother is
Bro,
being
we're almost at
attacked by our
300
Jewish,
subscribers on YouTube.
I just can't believe anybody's
Oh my
dumb
God.
enough to fall for all of this.
Alright, let's start. I don't...
Like, we're involved in a story where nobody can sort things out. There's no talking
Honestly,
heads.
you know what?
anybody
Actually,
believes
fuck
in.
it.
And
I'm
if
not
I
gonna
didn't
play the
understand
game. I'm
this,
gonna
then how is
drink
it that I have
and
a tweet from, 10 days after October 7th, where I appeared on Trigonometry? I'm telling you, Israel hasn't even walked into Gaza yet. And I know what the strategy is. Iran sent hypersonic missiles into the ground in Israel as a message. Violence is a language, and they spoke it well. The mullahs may be crazy, but they're still Persians. They're extraordinarily skilled. And so what they did is they wasted some of their arsenal, saying, you have no Iron Dome. And we're not going to kill you. We're going to put our missiles, we're going to waste our missiles by sending them into your Earth and try to kill no one. And the Israelis, these brilliant genius Israelis who pull off all sorts of things that the world can't believe, are...
Sorry, this interview with Eric Weinstein has been the most compelling thing I have seen and listened to in quite a while. I hope you guys also enjoy it, because, I mean, Eric goes over everything.
Dumb enough, some of them, to say, huh, they sent all these missiles and they couldn't even hit anyone. And I'm just thinking, do none of you understand anything? I just don't even know where I am. And I'm looking at, I know Tulsi.
Tulsi Gabbard.
Yeah. Tulsi's amazing.
She's the head of the intelligence program for the United States.
Director of National Intelligence, right? Tulsi has seen the devastation, not of war, but of U.S. action abroad. Like, we haven't really had full wars, but we get involved in Afghanistan or Iraq or wherever. And, people die and there are firefights. It's not like it has nothing to do with war, but full-on war is a very different thing. We say the Iraq War, but I want to be very careful about the language. War usually involves you getting rocked at home, not just your troops abroad. I don't think she appreciates the gravity.
FYI, this guy, he's not left, he's not right-leaning, he doesn't support BLM, hates woke culture, right? He doesn't really stand on the side, like, on either side. He's, like, he's very centrist, but he's not left or right. So, just if you guys want to know, like, where his opinions are coming from. What's up, Katie? What's up, Katie?
Gravity of the situation. That somehow what we need to do is we need to stabilize this thing for 50 to 100 years while we desperately try to figure out a long-term solution. And this idea of, like, just... We're not taking responsibility for the world we already screwed up. I don't want to send Americans... I'm not an Israeli, I'm an American. I don't want to send my fellow Americans to die in foreign battles that we have no business being in, but we have to take ownership of our history with oil and energy in the Middle East.
And what does that look like, taking ownership?
Recognizing that we created the mullahs.
And doing what about it?
And wait a second, not just that, and that we also created a lot of the heartache along with Sinwar. And
guys, thank you guys for tuning in. I've got over double-digit viewers in here, which is freaking awesome, so thank you guys. I appreciate y'all.
To a much lesser extent, Israel, by foisting this two-state solution on people who would never put up with it. Like, I lived in Israel for 2 years. And you would have conversations with Arabs, some of whom are Israelis, and they would say, look, you just don't understand the West Bank. You don't understand the difference between the West Bank and Gaza. And they would tell me straight up, you're going to get us all killed with this two-state solution. Stop it. And it's very hard for me to hear. But we're just having a child's conversation about the Middle East. And I will say this about the UK. The British Foreign Service had a different failure mode than the US. They really learned the regions. They learned the dialects of the languages of the countries that they were involved in. The British Empire took many places that they were involved in seriously, and they have a very complicated legacy. I spent a lot of time in Bombay, and there's a lot of debate among very educated Indians about figuring out how to think about the British legacy, all of the great institutional structures that were built, all of the prejudice and bigotry. Why was such a small country able to colonize such a large land, basically working with the locals? It's a rich conversation. We're having childlike conversations about all of this. I'm sorry if I'm going on about this, but it's just a very weird thing that we can't get anybody's attention. You can't even get my attention. I'm watching hypersonic missiles slam into the places I just was. And then I'm watching a cat video.
See?
And then I'm trying to figure out what to order through Uber Eats. And it's just like I can't stay focused. It's really important to put this right. And the U.S. screwed up the Middle East along with the UK really good. And we have a lot of responsibility. And if we want to go isolationist, I understand that. But you first have to put back the chicken soup that you spilled.
And how'd you do that?
I'm not sure. I'm not the director of national intelligence. I'm not the Secretary of Defense. I'm not in the Oval Office. I mean, it's very weird. I was workmates with J.D. Vance. These are people who are, Bobby Kennedy lives one canyon over from me in Los Angeles. The people around power in the U.S., Godspeed, just wish them well. I don't care what party you're in, but to try to sabotage Trump or sabotage Tulsi or sabotage Pete Hegseth, these guys need to figure this out, and they need to be at a totally different level.
And is figuring it out peace in the region?
The peace between Egypt and Israel is a shitty, crappy, horrible peace, but it's peace. It's not a loving relationship. It's not a question of everybody going back and forth between the two countries saying, we used to be enemies, now we're friends. It's a lousy, cold peace. I'll take it. We need to have peace between Israel and the Palestinian Arabs who can live in peace. And we need the people who cannot live in peace. We need to find some place else for them to be. It is absolutely imperative. And by the way, this goes for the Israelis. There are a small number of hardcore Israeli settlers who cannot live, in peace with their neighbors. And it's very important that the people who cannot live in peace not be there.
Do we need to go to, are you suggesting that we focus on regime change in Iran?
That is really the responsibility of the Persians.
So I want to get clear on what you see as a solution, because you're saying the Persian people have to rise up. The US need to care but not get involved in that regime change.
I'm saying that a bunch of things need to happen if we're to have a long-term solution.
I make you president tomorrow.
I hate when people do this.
But it's the clearest way of understanding the actions you would take.
First of all, if I was president tomorrow, I sure as hell wouldn't be on a podcast discussing strategy with you.
Trump does it.
Yeah, but I decline to answer all sorts of questions on camera.
Fair.
Yeah. So my feeling is that you do a lot more behind closed doors. And this idea of just handing people, you're the king of the world, what do you do tomorrow to stop? It's like, don't do that to me, because it's a no-win question. If I was going to, I do a lot of Straussian communication. I'd meet with people in private. I'd use lots of carrots and sticks. I'd try to use long-range thinking, and I wouldn't tell you what my plan is. And by the way, I very much respect Donald Trump in certain ways, one of which is that, and this confuses our friend Sam Harris no end. Sam is always like, well, he's not being truthful. He's not making sense. He's a negotiator. You don't sit down to a negotiation with an open book saying, let me make sense to you. You sit there saying, you don't know what I'm going to do next. You don't know how big the stick is. You don't know how much carrot there is. Maybe I'm prepared to give you more. Maybe my stick isn't as big as you think, or maybe it's twice as big.
Do you think anyone has good answers?
I'll be honest. I think that Trump is in part respected because he has some intuitions about this stuff. His intuition is not to say everything. His intuition is that negotiation is more important than transparency. And at a time when everybody's craving transparency, tell me everything. No, I'm not going to tell you everything. I'm going to try to save some children today. I'm going to threaten. I'm going to cajole. I'm going to do all sorts of things. And that's what I do. I would assemble the best people around me. I would stop giving so many press conferences. I wouldn't tweet every 4 seconds. I'd be extremely strategic about it. But, the situation in Tel Aviv and in Gaza makes me sick to my stomach. And in Ukraine. Almost all of my DNA comes from Ukraine. At least passed through it. I've been there. And, Russians in Ukraine used to be known as Little Russia. This is how are we sitting here watching
some kid's video game in another dimension?
What might be possible gets slammed. We don't know why. Because it's very cheap to explore ideas, and we have no new ideas. But the only thing about a new idea in physics is that a new idea changes the balance of power in the world. So remember the thing I was saying about AlphaFold 3?
Yeah.
AlphaFold 3 changed the balance of power in the world. Bitcoin changed the balance of power in the world. The diffuse proposal from the EcoHealth Alliance changed the balance of power in the world if that was the source of the COVID virus. Anytime somebody has a really big idea, and the biggest idea, and I talk about this, people don't grasp it, probably the most dangerous thought anyone has ever had was Rutherford in 1911 saying, I wonder whether there's a neutral version of the proton. It doesn't sound dangerous, but it's hard to send a proton into a bunch of protons because it's positively charged and a massive nucleus is really positively charged, and so there's a repulsion. If there's a neutral version of the proton, and these things are barely stuck together with a strong force, even though they're trying to scream away from each other because they're all positively charged, you can send a neutral version of the proton right into the center. Tap, and just imagine you have a bunch of magnets that are trying to flee from each other, and the Velcro around them is barely holding it together. So now you have a bullet in the form of a neutral proton, a neutron, and it hits this thing where the magnets want to come apart, and the Velcro is barely holding it together. Well, that idea led to the chain reaction.
And the nuclear bomb?
Well, that was the fission bomb. And then a geometer, so I'm a geometer and not a physicist, and a physicist named Edward Teller, and the geometer was named Stanislaus Ulam, said, I wonder if there's a way to take the chemical bomb that creates the fission bomb and use the fission bomb as the detonator for a fusion bomb. So bomb number 1, bomb number 2, bomb number 3. And what they figured out is that the only way to create that is to reflect light in a particular way to compress hydrogen into helium and release energy. Because anything other than light wouldn't get to the tertiary stage fast enough before the atomic bomb, like you're using a Hiroshima and Nagasaki as a detonator. That's how crazy it is. So that chain of ideas, which is maybe there's a neutral version of the proton, maybe I can send that into the middle of an atom that's very heavy that was built in a stellar collision. Maybe if I have a bunch of those uranium or plutonium type things, each one when they break apart will have more neutrons inside, that is more neutral protons, that will hit more nuclei, that will release more energy, and maybe I can then focus the light, the gamma radiation that comes off of this thing, or who knows what, to compress a narrow rod to create fusion, which only occurs on the sun, in the sun, but do it on Earth. So we're going to take a little bit of the sun on Earth. That chain of ideas was the most dangerous thing anybody's ever thunk. And that's why when you try to do physics, you don't know, why are people making fun of me? Why are they being mean? Why are they dissuading me from talking? I don't know.
You have a suspicion.
Well, there was a guy named Jack Raper, the unfortunately named Mr. Jack Raper, who was a reporter in Cleveland, who, for some reason during the war in 1944, decided to vacation in New Mexico. So he goes to New Mexico and he comes back and he says, I've got a crazy story. There's a city that nobody knows about with a mayor who's supposed to be the second Einstein. And it's the most secretive city in the world. And the mayor is working on a doomsday weapon, and even the people who live in the city don't know what it is. And he writes the story of Los Alamos and publishes it in 1944. The scoop of the millennium, to say nothing of the century. Nobody knows about this article. And it's called Forbidden City. We pretended that it never happened.
For those that don't know, Los Alamos is where the nuclear bomb was, I guess, conceived and brought to life and tested.
Well, it was really designed there, and most of the nuclear processing took place at other sites, whether Hanford or Oak Ridge, I'm not sure. And it was tested a short distance away at the Trinity site. So go watch the movie Oppenheimer, if you will. But this is why
Oppenheimer is a masterpiece by Christopher Nolan.
Physicists are the only occupation in the country that doesn't have full free speech.
So are you suggesting that there's dangers in believing in more dimensions that maybe some people might not want to be known in the same way that we didn't want the...
My point is, I don't think our government knows the real secrets of physics. If I had to make a bet tomorrow, I don't think there's a secret government office that knows physics. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
I think that there were a bunch of very smart people who knew how dangerous physics was, and that the idea that we would continue to do it in public struck them as insane.
Because it could lead to destruction.
When I tell you that the most dangerous idea in human history is maybe there's a neutral version of the proton, that's supposed to sound insane.
Mm.
But the entire chain of ideas results in nuclear fusion happening on Earth at the direction of the President of the United States. And that's what I'm trying to get at, which people don't understand, which is you probably don't even realize that the Department of Energy is really the Department of Physics. Because we pretend that it's the Department of Energy. Like we had a War Department that became the Department of Defense.
We're scared of the possibility of physics.
We don't even want to talk about it. Literally no other occupation has lost free speech like physics. There's a special doctrine called restricted data that says you cannot write physics on a napkin, even if you have nothing to do with the government. I think even if you're not an American. if it has anything that could possibly have to do with nuclear weapons. In other words, any advance that might have to do with nuclear weapons, you have to recognize that the instant you put pen to paper or you start talking to somebody, you're committing a violation of the 1917 Espionage Act. And if you think that's crazy, start exploring the words restricted data, 1917 Espionage Act, 1946 and 1954 Atomic Energy Acts, the doctrine of born secret. It is illegal to pursue Q clearance data if you don't have a Q clearance, but if you're creating Q clearance data out of your own head as a byproduct of trying to do physics, you are actually potentially committing a capital offense.
And your theory of everything, the theory you just talked to me about there, what does that mean for the average person that's listening to this, in terms of
we don't know
that they should?
Well, this is my point. Did Rutherford know what he was doing?
No.
So I talk about this a lot, but I do think it's probably one of the greatest lyrics ever in any song. And unfortunately, it occurs in a song that got way too popular. The baffled king composing hallelujah, that line. A baffled king does not realize what he is doing when he composes. Rutherford was a baffled king. Maybe there is a neutral version of the proton. He was composing the end of the human race.
And your ideas about the nature of reality.
I'm a baffled person.
And your proposal is...
I am baffled. I don't know what it leads to, is what I'm trying to tell you.
But your assertion is that there's more than this dimension that we understand and more than
I'm
Einstein's...
telling you that I can name for you what particles there are left to be found.
Mm-hmm.
And what comes back to me is you don't have any predictions. And I'm thinking, this doesn't even make sense. Literally, I'm telling you, maybe there's a neutral version of the proton doesn't begin to talk about all the things that I'm talking about. So many new forces, so many new particles, ways to go in. There's no longer an arrow of time in my theory.
So you could live forever, theoretically.
What does it mean? If you think about a final theory, and again, by the way, I just want to say something. I say my theory sometimes when I'm having to defend it, but it isn't mine. It just is. You know, Everest didn't belong to Sir Edmund Hillary or to Mallory or even to the surveyor for whom the mountain is named. When you chose to make the first ascent on Everest, you just chose a route. And then you either did or did not traverse the route. We don't know whether Mallory may have succeeded. But my point is that this isn't my theory. There is a theory that's there. It might be wrong. It's possible. I may have screwed it up. But it's got so much in it that I have no idea what it means.
And the simple way to understand this theory is that there's dimensions that exist beyond the ones that we know.
We already know from Einstein that these dimensions are implicitly in Einstein's theory. Every single dimension that I'm talking about is being constructed out of the four that we began with. When I put the cups here and the coaster, the edges were calculated from the vertices and the faces were calculated from the edges. Mm-hmm. My point being, these dimensions are already here. And because the dimensions are already here, they were already present in Einstein's theory all along. When you ask for what Einstein's real equation is, we actually don't think about it that way. We call it the Einstein field equations, plural. How many of them are there? 10. Why are there 10? Because there are 6 edges and 4 vertices that weren't accounted for. They're already in Einstein's theory. We just didn't take them seriously as directions you could go in.
You've heard about this simulation theory, haven't you?
Why? I don't want to talk about it.
Really?
Well, again, it's the LLM problem. The really interesting thing comes from I don't know And maybe the cosmos is traversable. Maybe time's travel replaces time travel. You see, if I flip all of the dimensions of time and space, so I have 1 of time, 3 of space in Einstein's theory. Okay, the time dimension gets a minus sign. The 3 spatial dimensions get a plus sign.
And the 3 spatial dimensions are
X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
Z, forgive me.
Which is for a simple person.
Depth, width, and height.
Yeah, you can go like forward, backwards, up, down.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have 3 dimensions there, and then we have 1 of time because the conversation takes place over time. You're moving around. Now, flip the time dimension to being plus when it was minus before, and all the plus dimensions to being minus. So I have 3 time dimensions and 1 space dimension. It would look exactly the same. The 1 space dimension would take the function of time, and the 3 time dimensions would have the function of space. We don't even teach people the idea that there is not necessarily an arrow of time if time is not one-dimensional. The only dimension that has an arrow is 1. If something has 1 dimension, you can say, and I tried to do this on Rogan. I said, if you have a cassette tape and you want to go back to an earlier song, again, your younger listeners will have no idea what we're talking about. You have to go back through all of the songs before. But if you have a stylus on a turntable, some of them will be hipsters with vinyl in their own homes, you can lift the stylus up and it doesn't need to go back and unplay each song in reverse. Mm-hmm. Okay. You may be able to go back in time without going back through time. I don't know what this means, but it's a lot like saying maybe there's a neutral version of the...
Guys, I gotta cut the stream short real quick. I will be back. I'm sorry, guys. I gotta bail for a bit.